Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin wa bihi nasta'in ala umuri dunya waddin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Can you all come closer? Because one of the thing our Ustaz Jizul, when he mentions about me being the top student of Rubat Tarim, I think that is over venerations from him. I don't think that myself as a top student, we are just as well as you all, we are just seekers of knowledge. I'm not a learned scholar as well. It just happened that I meet the criteria of ARS, which means that Asatiza Recognition Group, Asatiza Recognition Scheme, they call it, which have a certain criteria in terms of who deserve to teach in Singapore in particular. As well as he mentions about me studying, I'm being somebody who at the forefront in terms of philosophy of Imam Ghazali. I don't consider myself as somebody. Okay. I don't consider myself, as mentioned by our Ustaz Dizul, that I delve myself into philosophy. It just happened that I love philosophy. It's through very so-called, for me, as a person, is a profound pathway that I took during my days in Tarim, where something occurred there, and then it happens that I fall in love with philosophy. And he mentions about me delineating or explaining about the Salaf al-Ba'alwi, or the traditions of the Ba'alwian, they call it Ba'alwian traditions. I'm not somebody who have that profound knowledge. I think Habib Kazim is the best manifestations and the best presenter and key players in the Ba'alwi traditions. So what I want to do with you all here is that I try my best, insyaAllah ta'ala, to do justice and service to my sheikh and to all the sheikh that have contributed in the way of Tarim. Okay, so the topic given to me, I think last week, it was on Sunday when I was on my way back to KL, that I need to share with you all. In my session during a team session with seekers of knowledge like yourself, is that I don't really like to have that kind of like I'm the one who impart and then you the one who absorb it. I don't like that manner. So I do like the interactive manner where you all ask question in between and then we discuss. That was one of the method that I was taught by my sheikh there in Tarim. Okay. The topic given to me was the importance of balancing between love of habaib and as her muhibbin. Do you know what's the meaning of muhibbin? Okay, I think you all know about what's the meaning of muhibbin and how we can put into practice in our context and the way of life as a Singaporean. Okay, so first is that one of the traditions that one of the method that we learn in Tarim is that every single thing has its own meanings. So when I was given this topic by our Ustad there, busy with his camera, Ustad Idros, is that he asked me to elaborate more about the importance of balancing between the love. So we have that love towards the habaib. And some of you might ask why we need, is it something that obligatory, is what we call as wajib, or is it a sunnah thing, or is it something that we do it just because we want to do it? So that we will discuss inshallah in a few slides, in the oncoming slide. And then we also will talk about the concept of love in Islam and who between the scholars of Islam have expounded the concept of love and how it differs from the concept of love in the Western civilizations as well as the Eastern non-Islamic civilizations. Okay, because when we want to talk about love, that itself take the whole lecture. It will take more than 1 hour, but I was given only 1 hour to unwrap, so-called to unwind the profound content of the habaib. Okay, love as the habaib. What is the meaning of habaib? Because there's a misconceptions of what is habaib, what is mashayikh, what is ahwal, and so on. And as muhibbin, and how we can put into practice of our context, the way of life as Singaporeans. Because there are certain things that we, the habaib, when they first came to Nusantara, and they preached Islam, and then how the process of bringing the element of Islam into the culture, into the language, into the so-called worldview or understanding or perception that you have towards the world. That is I think the inculcation or the role of habaib or the role of the hadramis in imparting Islam in our region, what we call as Nusantara. Okay. Okay. First of all, I will talk about the concept of love. Okay, because when we the what do you call it? The topic itself is suggests that balancing between the love of habaib and how you put that love or translate that love into actions, and how you yourself as muhibbin walk in this world or embark into the journey of into this world with that kind of love, and how you bring about that love in Nusantara. Okay, first of all, the concept of love in Islam, there's a lot of scholars who actually expounded upon the concept of love. First of all, my favorite scholars, usually when during the Sunday class, usually I will talk so much about Imam Ghazali until I miss the class. I mean, like the main content for those who are in my class, you know that when I speak about Imam Ghazali, I mean, like, we cannot even cover the whole aspect of the vast knowledge that Imam Ghazali possesses. Okay, but Imam Ghazali, interestingly, in his kitab Ihya Ulumuddin, in the chapter of love, in the book of Kitab Shawq wal Hub wal Mahabba, in the book of love and intimacy, he mentioned this: love is a fragrance tree. Its roots is firmly planted, and its branches reaches to the heart, to heaven. Its fruits emerge in the heart and in the tongue and in the limbs. So what Imam Ghazali tried to do here, he in the kitab of love, in the book of love, firstly he mentioned the definitions. He defined what is love. So one definition that Imam Al-Ghazali gave in his book Ihya Ulumuddin is that he said that love is mawhibah min Allah. It's a gift by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So one may ask that why there's a lot of love happening in this world that lead people to do all the wrongdoing. Correct? This is the kind of like interactive manner that I adopt in my classes, that I will ask you all, if love is a gift by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why this love lead to people who are in love doing all sort of ma'siyah, committing sin, and leading their love into the wrong way? Why? And how that happened? And do Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responsible for the love that He gave? Or you responsible for leading the love that Allah have given to you? So, any answer? We? Why are you responsible? Okay. 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 Okay, it's a very good explanations, and the analogy given by Imam Ghazali, based on what you said, whatever you said, is actually the whole content of how we situate our love and lead our love into the correct way. He said that love is like when God, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, give you the gift of love. Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is like giving you money. Okay, it's like your parents give you money, correct? And you, with your own free will and your own will, volitions, and all, with all the capacity in you, you use that money to either spend it duly or you spend it in a wrong way, correct? So does love. When Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala give you love, the first excitation of that love is given by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. But you as a Muslim, you need to situate that love aligned to the prophetic traditions, which means that the Sharia itself. Correct? That is how we as a Muslim internalize, or what do you call it? Express our gratitude for the gift of the love that Allah bestowed upon us. Okay? So Imam Ghazali said that love is something non-physical. It's like a tree, a fragrant tree, that its roots firmly planted and its branches reaches the heaven. So the root itself is planted inside your heart. Okay? And the branches of that tree firmly reach the heaven. If you situate this love aligned to the prophetic traditions, which means when I mentioned about prophetic tradition, is the Sharia itself. Okay? And it fruits, you know that when you plant and harvest a tree, it will give you fruits. Fruit emerge in the heart. The fruit of that love that Allah gave you emerge in the heart, and in tongues and in limbs. So if you really understand the concept of love in Islam, it's really fascinating that love of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala will simply manifest in somebody who loves Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, in his heart, in his actions, in the articulations, and all the thing that he do in life. Okay, the stem of love is ma'rifah, and to know someone, there are ways and channels to knowledge. Okay, Imam Al-Ghazali proceed in his kitab of hope of ways you attain love. Okay, there is something what the Imam Ghazali mentions about how you fall in love with someone. The first step in falling in love with someone, you know how you do it? You get to know about that guy. You get to know about that lady. You know there's a difference between to know about somebody and to know somebody. Can anybody tell me about the difference between to know somebody and to know about somebody? Okay, usually ulama mentions about tawheed is about knowledge about Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, whereas tasawwuf or ilmul ihsan is knowledge of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. That means to say that tasawwuf lead you to know Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, but tawheed is a knowledge that you know about Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So what's the difference between know about and know Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala? So it's like, I give you one analogy, is that, okay, when you have that kind of like interest in a lady, you get to know about her. What you do is you ask somebody who know her, and you get informations about her. Correct? You know her attributes, you know her character, you know how she portray herself, and so on. Correct? That is the knowledge about somebody. Correct? But in tasawwuf, we know Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, which means it's something that you have a direct intimacy, a direct relationship with the one that you love. That's why they say that when you ask somebody about someone, that is knowledge about that person, that particular person. But when you have that direct interactions, relationship, direct intimacy, that is, you know that person personally. And to do that, Islam teaches us to first start with the knowledge about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know about His attributes. You know about all His, what they call it as necessary attributes. You know about His, what they call it, inconceivable or impossible attributes. We know that the necessary attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what we call as sifat 20. They have nasheed for that, Allah wujud qidam baqa, okay. And then the sifat mustahil, what we call as the inconceivable or the impossible attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then the possible attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those things that we learn is actually learning about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to gain knowledge about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have yet to reach the point where we know about Allah, we know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Imam Al-Ghazali, okay, to move on to the Ilmul Ihsan, where we know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that itself, when you situate yourself in the positions where you want to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is done by exercises, by struggles, by means of mujahada, which means struggle, by means of striving to attain God pleasure. There's a lot of books that was written, and still people, scholars are still writing about the concept of mujahada, how you struggle to attain God love, okay, and to know God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you all understand the difference between knowing about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and knows Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have that direct interactions. I mean, the love, this whatever you get, that kind of like experiential thing between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is the secret between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why the awliya Allah, the saint of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they reach and attain that maqam, or the stations of higher rank, by means of struggling and killing themselves. What do I mean by killing themselves? What do I mean by killing oneself, your own self? Know that within you there is something what we call as nafs. In Arabic, what we call as nafs. In the direct translation for it, some of the book translated it as the desire. Okay, but desire is actually shahwah. But nafs is the other thing. Nafs is what I think the precise. I think some of the book they translated it like the Irfan Atir, the translation of Habib Abdul Rahman Al-Idrus in his book Fragrant Scents. The translator translate nafs as ego. I think as far as I like it, is that I incline to the translation as of those who translate nafs as yourself, because human being in and of himself, he have his physical self, okay, and then he have his soul, and within his soul there is a faculty or something what we call as yourself. It's part of your soul, what we call as nafs. You may call it desire if you wish, you may call it ego, okay. This nafs, you need to fight it, because you are in constant war with this nafs. That's why Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his popular hadith, when they came back from the war, and then the Sahabat was complaining about the hardship that they went through during the war, and they say that raja'na minal jihadil akbar ila jihadil asghar, which means that we have came back from the major war into the minor war, okay, because the Muslims still face the minor tribulations and the criticism from the from the people of Quraysh. So they say that we came back from the major war which they have with the Quraysh Yahudi, with the Jewish of the Quraysh, and then Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam corrected them. They say that bal raja'na minal jihadil asghar ila jihadil akbar. Indeed, we have came back from the minor war into the major war. And sahabat asked Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what is the major war, ya Rasulullah? Mal jihadul akbar, ya Rasulullah. Bal and what is the major war, ya Rasulullah? So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied to them, al-nafs, yourself. Remember that Imam Ghazali in his book Qasru Shahwatain, breaking the two desire, as he translated it, as translated by Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad, the two desire, he mentioned one of the chapter of the book is that he mentioned that nafs, we are in a constant war with ourselves. Okay, and he gave a lot of analogy of how we are in that state of constant war with ourselves. I don't want to delve into that because that's not the main topic of it. Okay, I think I spent so much time in delineating about the concept of love. I think we are short of time because I keep talking about Imam Ghazali. That's why I usually ask my brothers from my class usually to stop me when I explain so much about Imam Ghazali. I seek apology for my long-winded, from being long-winded in explaining about the concept of love. Okay, let's move on to the gist of this gathering. Okay, you all don't mind, okay? When we skip some part of the slide because I only have until 12 o'clock, right? What? 12:15. Okay, I have 45 minutes. Hopefully we can finish by then. Okay, when we talk about love and you all so much, I think you have little concept of what is love. One of my beloved scholars is Imam Buti. He's one of the renowned scholars of Sham or Syria, as we know today. Imam Buti is known as the Shahid al-Mihrab, which is the what they call it, the matter of the mihrab, is that he was killed during his lecture of Quran, of Tafsir al-Quran. He was bombed in the mosque of Dimashq. Allahumma razukna shahada. Allah give us matidam, insyaAllah ta'ala. And one of the profound book Imam Ghazali have written in the concept of hope is that he aligned, because everyone in this world have been talking about love, and he actually linked the concept of love with the verses that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned love in it. And it's very interesting thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in every of our life, in everything that we do in our life, there is a certain level of love exists within a certain character or something that is embedded in the things that we do in our daily life. He mentions about the love of our parents, the love of the saint, the love of the prophets, the love of the umara, the love of the leaders, the love of salatin, the love of the sultan, the sultanate, and the ultimate love that we want to attain in this world is the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, he mentioned that, and in the beginning of the book he said, mal huwal hub, what is the definition of hope? He said that it's a feeling of attachment when the heart, because see, when we talk about love is not something that you can see. It's not something that you can see. It's rather something that you can feel, experience inside you. Correct? It's something, because of love we can articulate a lot of things. But it's a kind of feeling of attachment. That means, imagine this is your heart and this is your beloved, the person that you love. It's a kind of feeling that you attach, you tie that your heart to the beloved. That is the attachment of your heart to the beloved. So this is love. And interestingly, Imam Al Imam Al-Juhail, in his book Refinement of the Character of the, or the Refinement of the Heart, he mentions about maratibul hub, the stages of love, and the different type of love, which I don't want to delve into that. Okay, that itself is a, because love in and of itself is a profound topic. Okay, to someone or something in a way that dreariness is felt when separated. I mean, you feel lonely when you are separated with your beloved, and when she is or he is around, you feel tranquility. Your heart feels and gripped with tranquility and calmness. That is the result of the love, the attachment that you build with the beloved. Okay, so bearing that in mind, then move on to the concept what we call as the love of Ahlul Bayt. What do we mean by the love of Ahlul Bayt? Okay, so I just put there the balance of that love between two extremes, the Shiite and the Rafida or Khawarij. I personally don't like to label people as you as Khawarij, you as Rafida, you as Salafi, me as Sunni, me as what they call it, the Maulidi, the people who embrace and celebrate Maulid, the Kuburi, the one who visit the Kuburiyun. I personally don't like to use labels, and I as taught by my teachers, we don't label people, because from this labeling, it invokes that kind of animosity, hostility, and it actually disintegrate us, because the whole idea Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sent into this world is to akha bainakum, is to create that bond, that kind of like brotherhood between you. And interestingly, I will mention that, okay, since we are talking about the idea of brotherhood, is that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was sent, when he was revealed with the kind of revelations, one of the primary or the major aspect of the revelation is that to akha bainal muslimin, which means that to create brothership or brotherhood between the Muslimin, and so that we don't feel alienated or feel isolated between the fabric of society. And one of the profound effort of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is that before Islam there was a the tribal war between the Aus and Hazraj. Both are from the people of Yahudi, from the Jewish people, the tribe of the Jewish, and they are in constant war. But later, when Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam impart and propagate the religions, when they embrace Islam and later they embrace Islam, one of the main objective, one of the immediate thing that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam did was to akha bainahum, to create, to remove that tribalisms. They call it the tribalism. What it means that you are so much affiliated to your tribes, and you forget that the brotherhood that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam had created between you Muslims. And and Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam has succeeded in doing so, is that the Aus and Khazraj almost forget the tribals war they had during their time before Islam. And that was the profound immediate actions that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam did when the Yahudi, the Jewish Aus and Khazraj embraced Islam. And this kind of thing we need to adopt here in Nusantara as well. Okay, that I will explain with regards to what the Habaib impart, what the Habaib brought to Nusantara. The idea of no differentiations. Okay, remind me of that. If it happens that I miss that, remind me of the idea of no differentiations between one ethnic over the other. That's why Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned in his popular hadith, la fadla li Arabi, and there's no superiority over the Arabs, of the Arabs over the Ajams, the non-Arabs. Wala li abyadin ala aswad, nor the whites over the black. There is no superiority. Illa. So the main measurement of superiority is what? Taqwa, piety. When you have that God consciousness in you. So people differs in rank in terms of their closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not because you are born white, not because you are born handsome, okay, not because you are born black. No, it's because you are pious. You differs in rank based on your piety, because of your God consciousness in you, because at-taqwa. That's the whole measurements of how you measure people. And ultimately we cannot measure taqwa, can't we? Okay, we cannot measure taqwa. Okay, so Imam Suyuti in his book Ihya'ul Mayyit, okay, Imam Suyuti, who are the Ahlul Bayt? Do anybody have any idea about who is Ahlul Bayt? Ahlul Bayt, who do we call Ahlul Bayt?
The household of Nabi.
What?
The household of Nabi.
Can you use the mic? The households of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, to be precise, the Al-Bayt, what we call as Ahlul Bayt, you're right about the definition of who are the Ahlul Bayt. I think the mic is not on. Okay, who are the Ahlul Bayt? The Ahlul Bayt are descendant of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I want to test you all with regards to your akidah or to your sirah knowledge. How many children do Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam have in his life?
6.
Confirm 6. Any okay, 6. Any other opinions? How many children do Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam have? 6, I think. How many? I listen to answers from the back. How many? 7. Correct. The correct answer is 7. That's why in the poetry of Nazam, what they call it, Aqidatul Awam, they say wasab'atun awladuhu faminhum, and 7 from his son, from the prophet's son, awladuhu faminhum salasatun minadh-dhukuri tufhamu. There are 3 children from Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam which are male, and the rest are females. I mean 4 females and 3 males. Total number of children Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam has is 7. So remember that. Okay, it's one part of love towards the Prophet of sallallahu alaihi wasallam is to know how many children the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam possess. Okay, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam possess 7 children. 4 of them are male. 4 of them are female. 4 of them, 3 of them are males. Okay, who are there? Okay, Qasim wa Abdullahi wa huwa tayyibu. And then, okay, so the first one is Qasim. His male children is Qasim, and then Abdullah. The other one is Ibrahim. Wa ghairu Ibrahimu min Hadija fa ummuhu Mariyatun Qibtiyah. So the rest of the Prophet's son, by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all the Prophet's son, children, are from the Sayyidatina Khadijah, except for one of his son is from Maria Qibtiyah. Ibrahim, Sayyidina Ibrahim is from, I'm not talking about the Prophet Ibrahim, the son of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ibrahim is from who? Maria Qibtiyah. Okay, and when we talk about Maria, and those are the son of Nabi sallallahu. What about the daughters of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Fatimah Zahra ba'luha Ali wa Zainab, Ruqayyah, Ummu Kulthum. So those are the daughters of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Remember that, okay? Because one part of the love of your Prophet is that you remember. That means if you love your wife, you remember every single thing that she loved to do. as well as how many siblings she has, correct? Similarly, when you have the love of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you need to remember how many children and how many daughters, son and daughters Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam has. So from the daughter of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one of the one of the grace divine selections is that the prophet lineage continues through Sayyidatina Fatimah. There are certain reasons for that. I think the one of the book that mentions about the hikmah, the wisdom of why amongst the children of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the lineage of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam continues with regards to the Ahlul Bayt, continues from the descendant of Sayyidatina Fatimah Zahra. Okay, and when we know that Sayyidatina Fatimah Zahra marries to the Sayyidina Ali karamallahu wajhahu, and they were given how many children? Okay, as far as we know, it's two. Actually, it's three. Muhsin, Hassan, Hussein, and Muhsin. Muhsin died when he was very young, and the one that were alive is Sayyidina Hassan and Sayyidina Hussein. And from this, Sayyidina Hassan and Sayyidina Hussein come the descendant of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when we say the Ahlul Bayt, is when we mention the Ahlul Bayt, the prophetic house, the prophetic family, the prophetic lineage is that of the descendant of Sayyidatina Fatimah through his son, through her son, Sayyidina Hassan and Sayyidina Hussein. And when we talk about the Habaib, what is the difference? So we establish the definition of who? All Ahlul Bayt. What is the difference between Ahlul Bayt and Habaib then? Is there any difference? What is the difference then? Okay, so much as language is concerned, that there isn't any difference between Habib and the Ahlul Bayt. But in terms of like what they call it as istilah, the term used, Habib have a different meaning. One of the component of who we call as Habib is that he must from the descendant of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, particularly from the lineage of Sayyidina Hussein. Okay, and then one of the thing that he have possessed substantial amount of knowledge, and he is the leader and prominent figure in his society. That is the definition of Habib. Okay, so I repeat myself, the Habib, what? Okay, Habaib is the plural form of Habib. What does Habib means is that Habib means one of the criteria is that he is from the descendant of Prophet Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, be it from Hassan or Hussein. Okay, Sayyidina Hassan and Sayyidina Hussein, sorry. And then he have possessed substantial knowledge in the religions. And then the third criteria is he mansada fi qaumih. That means he is the frontier or the prominent figure in his society. That is Habib. So when we call Habib Umar, he was very young that time. When people call him as Habib, because he fulfilled that three criteria. Term people in Tarim use to call people Habib when they fulfill these three criteria. So much that I established. So you don't call everybody Habib. It's a misconception and the wrong way of using that so-called, for me, it's a sacred terms used to term somebody. So I really against people when they know that I graduated, I learned from the feet of ulama in Tarim, then they call me Habib. That's not right, because we need to give the titles due respect and due cause. Correct? You want to ask? Okay, that in terms of linguistically, it really I think it's not a problem, because Habib in and of itself, I mean, like in linguistic meaning, Habib means somebody who is beloved to you. So Habibah gente Habib. But when you use the word, when in literature, when they use the word Habib, then it's supposed to mean the term that fulfill the three criteria that I mentioned earlier. Correct? Okay? So we established the meaning of habaib. Okay, so we move on to the next topic, which is the love of the Ahlul Bayt and the love of habaib in particular. Okay, the love of habaib, there's a lot of book written about the love and habaib, and and is one of the obligations of a Muslim to love the Ahlul Bayt, because innama yuridullah liyushiba ankum rijsa ahlil bait wa yutahhirakum tathira. So Imam Ghazali, that is mentioned in the Quran, that innama yuridullah, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yuridullah liyushiba ankum rijsa, Allah indeed want to remove the dirt from the Ahlul Bayt, wa yutahhirakum tathira, Allah purify from all the lineage available around this world, the lineage of the Prophet Ahlul Bayt. And so they are the purified lineage of all the lineage available exists in this world, because of God saying, because of the divine saying. Okay, because of this, Imam Al-Ghazali says, Imam Shafi'i says in one of his popular book in Mazhab, the Kitab Al-Um, Imam Ghazali cakap, kafakum bihim fakhran, and indeed it's sufficient that you all have the kind of like respect from the traditions from Islam, is that man lam yusalli alaikum la salata lahu, who don't praise them in salat, who don't mention them in our prayer, in our obligatory prayer, la salata lahu, that means our salat is considered invalid. You know, one of the part of the integral, the arkan of salat, is that towards the end, in the tashahud akhir, in the tahiyat akhir, we need to mention the Ahlul Bayt. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad kama sallaita ala Sayyidina Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim fil alamina innaka Hamidum Majid. That is the minimum requirement for you to say the tashahud in the tahiyat akhir. Correct? If you don't mention that, your salat is considered as what? Invalid. So as if that you don't do any salat. Okay, and there's a lot of book written about the fadilah, the merits of the excellence of the Ahlul Bayt, and particularly about the love of Ahlul Bayt. And one of the book that I mentioned here is Imam Shuti mentioned 40 hadiths, like Imam Nawawi have the 40 hadiths of Imam 40 hadiths of Imam Nawawi. I think that is misnomers. What do I mean by misnomers? The title itself sound weird. The 40 hadiths of Imam Nawawi. We know that hadiths all come from Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Imam Nawawi have never fabricate and even innovate his own saying that this is the Prophet saying. So the 40 hadiths that compiled by Imam An-Nawawi. So there is some misnomers there. Okay. Similarly, Imam Suyuti have compiled in his book Ihya'ul Mayyit bifadli Ahlil Bayt, which means that to revive the heart, the diseased heart, with regards to the merits of loving of the Ahlul Bayt. And he mentions about a particular hadith, what in one of the hadiths that I remember, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his mention, ya qaumi inni taraktu fikum amran ma in tamassaktum bihim lam tadillu ba'di. O people of my people, know that I leave after me two things that which if you behold of that two things, lan tadillu ba'di, you will not stray away from the right path. What are those two things? Kitab Allah wa itrati, which means that the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the Quran, and itrati, my family. Okay, so this itself delineate to us, explain to us the importance of the love of Ahlul Bayt. So when you love Habaib, that means you actually doing something what we call as the sunnah thing, something that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam encourage and recommend us to do, to behold to that kind of like love towards them. So when we love So don't listen to people who say that when you love habaib, you are doing bid'ah, you are doing innovations, and so on. I think that the hadith itself tells us about the importance of the love of Ahlul Bayt. Okay? Okay. Moving on to the love of Ahlul Bayt, and the importance of Ahlul Bayt, particularly the habaibs in this region. There are a lot of books written about the profound impact of the habaib in this region, particularly in the Nusantara. Okay, for the benefit of people who don't know Nusantara, before Singapore, Malaysia, and what they call it, our Jawa, Indonesia, the whole region is called as Nusantara. And then because of colonialism and all the stuff, these countries are divided into parts, like what we call as Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore. But before that time, when the Islam came to Nusantara, these particular regions, Islam came through the hands of Habaib, the Ahlul Bayt. There's a lot of one of the propagations of Islam in this region is that Nusantara was filled during the what they call it, Majapahit time. Last time I didn't know about the history of Malay world in the Nusantara. Seriously, I did. We were not taught about the Majapahit and all the stuff. I recently learned about, because it's a compulsory subject in part of the medical course in Malaysia, is that you need to learn about the Malaysian politics and the Malaysian culture. They call it MPU, Malaysian culture. So one of the things that we need to memorize about these history things, and then one of the things that I'm interested in is the idea of Majapahit and how the spread of Islam in this region. And one of the profound things that Sir Stamford Raffles did during his time is that he brought the Arabs to do business in this region. And because of that, because of the trustworthy that this merchant from the Ahlul Bayt, particularly the Hadramis, when I say Hadramis, so Yaman is a country. Hadramaut is like, to look into our context of Singapore, Singapore is a country. Hadramaut is like eastern side of Singapore. They call it as Hadramaut, and one part of Hadramaut is Tarim. Okay, so the Hadramis, be it you're from Tarim is like Tampines, Bedok. To look in our context, is like Bedok, Tampines, Simei. So in Hadramaut, because it comprises of a few valley, you can say it valley or or villages, which were profound which one of the villages that we know is Tarim itself. Primarily the merchants came from the Hadramaut, one part of the regions from the Yaman, and when they came, they do business here. And one of the propagations that lead, one of the character that they possess that lead to the propagations of Islam is that they have trustworthy, the amanah that they inherited from Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then that leads to people feel comfort and feel tranquil with their existence. And then because of that, particularly what I will say that the Arab merchants is a kind of like not immediate but rather intrinsic, you may call it Islamalizations or the propagation of Islam in this region. And one of the profound external or the profound propagations of Islam is by means of the Wali Songo. And if you want to listen to the details of the kisah of the story of Wali Songo, Ustaz Izrol down there, he have a lot of knowledge with regards to the Wali Songo, the stories of Wali Songo, I myself learned from him with regards to the stories of Wali Songo. Okay, I don't want to dwell over the stories of Wali Songo, because it's profoundly known to us. For the benefit of those who don't know, Wali Songo means the ninth profound saint of the Jawa people. And then and interestingly, that 7 of them are from the descendant of Ahlul Bayt, or the descendant of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And because of this, one of the contribution that they do in this Nusantara per se is that they actually change one of the so-called, I don't like to use the word Islamizations, because it have a lot of like connotations to it, but I would rather that one of the contributions that this imam or the wali, the saint of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, particularly came from the Hadramis, is that they have that kind of profound contributions, and they reforms the pagans elements that we have during that time. The Nusantara have that time. We have that kind of like what we call as in Malay dewa. Sebab we know, just to make them understand, they have this kind of like wayang kulit. I'm not really sure what is wayang kulit in English. How do you translate that in English, wayang kulit? What? What? Shadow puppets. Is that it's like this, and then they play the wayang kulit. It's filled with all the paganisms. The idea of the mystic power came into being, and how we live our life, and that kind of like pagans, or we can equate that with the Hellenistic traditions. When I mentioned about Hellenistic, is the traditions of the what they call it, the Greeks philosophy. They have this kind of like pagans understanding, paganistic understanding. In Malay we call it dewa understanding. So what the Habaib, particularly the Hadramis, did was they induce or integrate some elements of the Islamic elements into, and remove and displace the paganistic elements with the Islamic elements. And that is one of the profound contributions that they did. And they don't do it not only in language, they do in so many things within the culture, and contribution that they do, then they have done in the what do you call it, in Nusantara paganistic understanding. One of the elements that they have inserted and incorporated in the language itself is that in Malay, the whole idea of days we derive that from the Arabic language. That's why in Arabic we call it Yaumul Isnin. Monday we call it as Isnin, betul tak? In Malay we call it Isnin. Tuesday we call it as Selasa. Similar to the Arabic word Thulatha. The Wednesday is Rabu. What they call it in Arabic also, Rabu, and so on. That is one of the elements that they Islamize, or they insert, they incorporate the Islamic element within our language, and remove and displace the paganistic elements. And that that's one of the example. I can give you a lot of example with regard to this. Okay, but we are short of time. I have only 10 more minutes. 10 more minutes to finish all of this. And one of the thing is the elements that they incorporate with regards to culture, that they brings about the concept of adab. That means to situate things at the right place. One of the adabs with regards to the people of Makkah, the people of here we have the concept of adab, meaning that we give every people their own positions. Okay, and also we have the concept of haya. Hayat means the concept of shame, the concept of humility, and so on. Okay. these are the remnants that we have in if you are interested more about how the Habaib on the Salaf or the Ahlul Bayt have contributed to Singapore. One of the mosques, few mosques that was built by the Ahlul Bayt, particularly the mosque of Ba'alwi, Hajar Fatima, which is situated right near to us here, and then Al-Kaf Mosque and Madrasah. We have Madrasah Al-Junaid, and here we are in the Madrasah Al-Sakaf. Was the remnants or the contributions from the Ahlul Bayt, particularly in our region, Singapore. Okay, and as well as Madrasah Khairiyah. Okay, the Madrasah Khairiyah is a part of the Waqaf from the As-Sagar family. Okay. Okay, we come to the main part of it is that okay, what the Ahlul Bayt have contributed to the regions. One of the important things that we need to do with regards to our love to the Habaib is that the descendant before the predecessors of the Habaib, the current Habaib, is that the past Habaib have contributed a lot with regards to the establishment and the contribution they have done in this region. So what we can do with regards to our love is that we can translate that love into actions of the Ahlul Bayt, of the Habaib. And how we do that is that we restore and revive their legacy. What do I mean by reviving and restoring their legacy? One part of it is that there's a lot of things have been done here in the Nusantara, particularly with regards to the supplications or the prayers. There's a lot of like supplications inherited from the Salaf al-Ba'alwi, particularly what we call as Ratib al-Haddad and Ratib al-Attas. And in Madrasah Al-Junaid, last time, in Madrasah Al-Junaid, the madrasah that I graduated from, is that before the Mudir of Madrasah Al-Junaid, they recite in early morning the Wirdul Latif by Imam Al-Haddad. We used to, I think that my seniors used to recite the Wirdul Latif, the compilation of invocations by Imam Haddad in Madrasah Al-Junaid. So this is one part of it, to revive that legacy. One part of it is that what have the Salaf Ahlul Bayt contribute in these regions? One of the profound thing that we need to understand, I mentioned in the earlier slide, the business. Because when we talk about money, everybody will be interested in, correct? Okay, what you know that almost two-thirds of Singapore last time belongs to the Arabs, particularly the Hadramis. Do you know that? Okay, you can read from the works of Said Khairuddin Al-Junaid. He have papers, 32 page with regard to this. And then a book by our Chinese Muhibbins, so to speak, En Seng Hong. He wrote about the book of about the contributions of Habaib here. And why I mentioned about the idea of Waqaf is that this idea is one of the business idea that attract the Muslim here. I mean like the people here before they embrace Islam, is that the concept of love for your family. It's not, when I mentioned about love of your family, they are not selfish in that sense. They think about what their family is going to do after they pass on, after they are passing. They think that far. The concept of Waqaf is actually rolls around the concept of a charity that you pass on to your next generations, and then they continue that business until they benefit from that Waqaf. And interestingly, when you talk about Waqaf, okay, when I learn about the hikmah of Waqaf is that from Waqaf itself we can get a lot of things. Waqaf, in translation we translate it as endowment. Okay, what they do is one of the I was in I was talking, one of the session I was talking to Sheikh Afifuddin Al-Akiti, not Sheikh Afifuddin, Sheikh Afifi Al-Akiti, one of the professors in the Oxford University. He mentioned to me personally, he said that one of the thing that Oxford have is that the people there have the same concept of wakaf. They are so independent in the sense that they have businesses from the wakaf, so-called wakaf system, that the money, the what they call it, the ribih in Arab, in English, what do you call it? The profit of that business from that capital of wakaf is being pumped into the education system. And that is so much profound system, make it that Oxford itself is so independent in that sense. It doesn't rely on the government contribution, tax contribution, and so on. They really rely on the profits of that endowment system that they adopt in that particular regions. Particularly in Singapore, when the Arabs adopt or practice the concept of wakaf, is that, imagine I have somebody possess the whole stretch of Arab Street, is the wakaf of Al-Sagaf, the Al-Sagaf. And because of this charity or this concept of endowment, the business structure of endowment, the family, the first generation, the second generations after the passing of the one who did the endowment, the wakaf, they still enjoy the benefits of that endowment. They don't need to work. They just go there and do business, and the profit of that business, they enjoy that fruits of that business. And this is one of the thing that we need to think, to restore back the idea of wakaf in Singapore. Okay? And how these people have this kind of like in our context we call it as business minded, not only to benefit the society but to benefit their own family. There's a lot of system in Islam that Islam have make it as such that there's a lot of things that we can benefit after we pass away, with regards to our family, to our generations, to our society even. Okay, there's a lot of things. One of which is the concept of fara'id, the inheritance, and one of which is the concept of wakaf. That's why in the one of the popular hadith, iza mata ibnu Adam inqata'a amalahu illa min thalas. If the son of Adam pass away, inqata'a amalahu, his amal is deprived except for three things. First of all is waladun ilmun yuntafa'u bihi. Correct? So, the first one is sadaqatun jariyah. Is it sadaqatun jariyah? Sadaqatun jariyah. The second one is ilmun yuntafa'u bihi. The third one is waladun salih yad'u lahu. So it's very interesting in this hadith. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions about the three things that you after you pass away, you pass on to your next generation. So your son or your daughter inherit from you. First of all is money, sadaqatun jariyah. What is sadaqatun jariyah? Sadaqatun jariyah is this charity that after you pass on, you get the reward of that charity continuously. Where do you get that from? You get that from your physical possessions, which is money in this sense. Correct? And if you really concerned about how you spend your money after you pass on, is that you need to think about how you put your money after you pass away. Because this money will become a good deed for you, or you will be accountable for it later in the hereafter. Correct? That's why the Al-Ba'alwi, when they think profoundly about this, they think about wakaf, because that is the sadaqatun jariyah you want to do in your family, with regard to your family. And then sadaqatun jariyah, the second one is ilmun yuntafa'u bihi, your knowledge that you have benefited people. Correct? The third one, the another possessions that you possess in this world that you pass on to your next generation is what? Waladun soleh, because your progeny, your sons, your ancestors, they are the one who continue your legacy. They bring your names. They are part of you. Correct? It's a part of possessions, which is your son or daughter. Waladun soleh, when you inculcate them well, when you instill so much good character, they will pray for you. So these three things, it's really profound that Islam have this kind of like, when you pass on, you need to think about these three possessions that you will pass on to your next generations. Okay, so you need to revive that. Okay, embracing their convictions. Yeah, Ba'alwi have this kind of like 4 principles in their teachings, which is ilm, which can be translated as knowledge. And when we talk about knowledge here in the Ba'alwi traditions, particularly in the Tarim traditions, what they mean by knowledge is that they are of the Shafi'i mazhab. Okay, but we don't reject other mazhab per se. I still remember when I was in Tarim, the whole school, when I was in Rubat, the whole school were saturated with still saturated by the school of thought of Imam Shafi'i. But there were a profound place given by Sheikh Amin Al-Shinkiti, who's a imam, a great scholars from Shingit, Mauritania. He was given a special place in Rubat Tarim to what? To teach all the teachers or lecturers the school of thoughts of Al-Maliki, Mazhab Al-Maliki. So much to speak that the traditions of Al-Ba'alwi, although they embrace the school of thought of Imam Shafi'i, they also open to the other mazhab. Okay, and then with regards to the school of thoughts, and then to their convictions, is that they follow the path of Abi Hasan al-Ash'ari with regards to their tawhid. I can continue. Okay. They have that of the what they call it as Imam Ash'ari school of thoughts with regards to tawhid, and then particularly they are more interested into the Ghazalian school of thoughts with regards to the what we call it as tawhid. In particular in the areas of tawhid, they follow the Imam Ash'ari, and they usually derive their knowledge of tawhid from the Imam Ghazali's thought. Okay, and then with regards to the ilmu ihsan, the spiritual exercises that they have their own understanding, which is they call it they are inwardly Ghazalian, and they are inwardly Shazilian, outwardly Ghazalian. Batinuha Shaziliyah, Zahiruha Ghazaliyah, which means that their wirids, there are particular hizibs, particular recitations with regard to invocations in the practices of Al-Ba'alwi, is that they have Hizib Kabir and Hizib Saghir by Imam Habib Hasan Ash-Shadhili from the Shazili path, and they embrace so much that it reminds me of the story of Imam, one of the profound Imam of Al-Ba'alwi is Sheikh Abdul Rahman As-Sagaf. For those who have not been there, Imam As-Sagaf is buried in the Maqbara, or the burial of the Zambal, they call it Maqbara Zambal. Okay, right after you pay your visit to Sayyid Al-Faqih Muqaddam, you will straight away visit the second Imam, which from the so-called hierarchy of visitations in the Zambal, in the way of the Salaf do during their visits to Zambal, is that second they will visit the Maqbara Sayyidina Abdurrahman As-Sagaf. And then Imam As-Sagaf possessed a profound knowledge, substantial knowledge, and then he want to write for the Al-Ba'alwi, the book that compile the inward actions of the external actions or outward actions of fiqh mazhab Imam Shafi'i, or the school of thought of Imam Shafi'i, and then imbue that and assimilate that with the teaching of tasawwuf. That means the fiqh and tasawwuf become one thing in their practice. And then when Imam As-Sagaf was told that there are scholars have written about this and they show the work of Imam Ghazali, he said that this is the book that this Imam have written what I want to write. And he embraced that book, and it became a book that as a primary reference in the way of Ba'alwi. And that is why when I share about the Tariqat Al-Ba'alwi, is that Tariqat Al-Ba'alwi is known for its simplistic approach, because you don't have that kind of like rusum. So one of the questions that I want to ask you all is that, does this Tariqah Al-Ba'alwi have this kind of like thing what we call as what? Bai'ah. Correct? Usually when we want to follow a certain school of thought or a certain way of pursuit to embark to the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to gain closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's the one thing what we call as tariqah, correct? And does Tariqah Al-Ba'alwi contain these practices of bay'at? I personally asked Habib Umar bin Hafiz. I say that does hal yujad bay'ah fi Tariqat Al-Ba'alwi, which means that does Tariqat Al-Ba'alwi has the concept of bay'ah? So Habib Umar, with his eloquency, he answered me profoundly, which facilitate me to learn more about these traditions, is that he say, tariqatuna mahwar rusum, our way is to remove all the rusum, the symbols. Bay'at is a symbol. Why I say it's a symbol? That act itself, when you bay'at with somebody, is a symbol that your heart is attached to that. You affiliate your heart to that particular way. That means you pledge allegiance to that particular path, correct? And the concept of bay'at is not that kind of like symbols, you do it physically. No, because the ultimate point of bay'at is you do it inwardly. The pledge of allegiance is of the internal exercise, of the internal actions, correct? And in Tariqat Ba'alwi, they say that in tariqatuna mahwar rusum wal maqsud min al bay'ah fi tariqatina, and the primary concept of bay'at in particular in the Al-Ba'alwi is that al-intima'u sadiq. What does it mean? It means that you have that true and pure affiliations to that tariqah. And minimum requirement to have that kind of to portray that kind of minimum affiliations or intima usadiq, that kind of pure affiliations to that tariqah, is that you practice minimally is the wirdul latif or the ratib al-atas or the ratib al-haddad. You just read and you have that profound love and to the tariqah, to that profound affiliation to that tariqah. The minimum requirement is that you read, you recite the ratib al-haddad or the ratib al-wirdul latif or ratib al-atas, correct? You know that when you pledge your allegiance towards a certain sect or a certain path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you need to do certain recitations. Firstly, you need to recite 1,000 time of La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, correct? And you need to recite the numbers of salawat atas Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the salutations upon the prophets Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and so on. But in Tariqat Al-Ba'alwi, because of it is known to be a simple path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and its diversity that it exists within it, is that you only, when you want to affiliate yourself to that tariqat, you only need to do minimally in the sense that you only have you just follow and have that profound love towards the tariqah and to the people of the tariqah. That is the meaning of intima or secret. That is the whole concept of bai'ah in tariqat al-Ba'alwi. And they do also have that kind of practices where they do physical bai'at itself to the murabbi or sheikh. They do have that, but you need to do it like discreetly and one-on-one with the particular sheikh. In the case we have Habib Umar, you can do that bai'at. I want to bai'at to the tariqat. So Habib Umar straight away immediately will tell you amal what in Khulasatul Madad, in my zikir. Habib Umar have that book of invocation and supplications named as Khulasatul Madad. Anybody have the book? That book. Yeah. Okay. That is the minimum recitations. Okay. I think I've spent so much time about the concept of the Ba'alwi. One of the things is that within the sect of Ba'alwi, there's a lot of diversity. What I mean by diversity is that the essence of tariqah is that, okay, the essence of tariqah, let me be reminded of the concept of, give me a while. The concept of actually I want to elaborate more about the essence of the Tariqat Al-Ba'alwi, which is profoundly applicable, and we can embrace that in our time, during where we live in the time of tribulations. One of which is that one of the concept that they have is that la tahsurul khairil fil afrad. What does it mean is that when the idea of why I mentioned the problem of excessive love of the habaib is that people have this kind of thing, what they call as asabiyah, fanatisms. What does fanatism means? That means you love one person and you disregard others to the extent that you belittling others, you denigrating other people, you denigrating other scholars. These are not of the thought of the Ba'alwi. We have never been taught that way. But the thought that we learn is that la nahsurul khair. We hasrul khair, that means we limit goodness to a particular guy or particular scholars and disregard others. That means the only good only exists in this guy and no good exists in other guys. That is something against the Tariqat Al-Ba'alwi. Tariqat Al-Ba'alwi does not limit goodness in one particular guy or one particular sheikh or one particular area, Buq'a Sharifah. So I was a bit disturbed when people say that you need to go to Tarim because Tarim is the very divine place of all the places exist in the world. See, when you say that, you are not doing adab to the tradition itself, because you are going against the saying of the Prophet of sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Correct? Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that the purest region or the purest surface in this earth is the Baitullahil Haram, the Makkah, followed by the Baitul Maqdis, followed by Masjid al-Haram, and then you can limit that goodness to that place. But when you say that the only goodness that we can possess in this world only Tarim, I think that is a bit excessive. That is the due to the fanatism that you possess, and this is not something that we were taught when we were there. La nahsurul khair. I mean, we don't limit goodness to one particular guy. Habib Omar, in one of his lecture, he mentioned that it's not a problem that you venerate your teacher, you glorify your teacher. Everyone does that, correct? But the problem is when you go beyond the limits, the permissible limits. What is the permissible limit? When you nahsurul khair, that means you limit goodness. When you venerate your sheikh, when you glorify your sheikh to the extent that you say or you imply your veneration implies that your sheikh is the only sheikh that have the complete good in this world. That is something that were not taught in the tariqah itself, which means that Habib Umar, when he mentioned about that, he said that labas bi ihtiram shaykh. That means this is not a problem for you to venerate the shaykh. Wal mushkilah fi annak tugallil al-shuyukh. The problem is when you belittling and denigrating the other scholars. That is the problem. That is when you are not doing adab and not doing justice to your own shaykh even. You situate him to the position to the station that he belongs to, and don't denigrate others, because you also don't know where's the positions and the station of other scholars, correct? And I still remember, Allah yarham Habib Salim bin Abdullah bin Umar Ashatri, he always reminded us in his lecture, is that he said that La tufaddil ahad min al-habaib, which means that don't venerate so much a particular Habib over a particular Habib, because that itself is a gillatul adab, which inappropriate act of adab is defect in adab. He said that because why is it so? Because he said that when you say that, for example, you say that my sheikh is better than this sheikh, you can only do that if you are above both, correct? When you are in academia, or when you are in university, your lecturer can know you are above this person, or you are better than this person because he above you, superior in that sense. That means when you say that my sheikh is superior to this sheikh, that means you are superior, more superior than your sheikh, because you know your sheikh where does he rank with regards to the another sheikh, and that itself is being gilatul adab to your sheikh. And he said that the tariqat al-Ba'alwi does not denigrate anybody. That's why the tariqat al-Ba'alwi, the way of al-Ba'alwi, we have these three concepts. Hifzul lisan min az-zam, guard our tongue from criticism. The first one. The second one is hifzul yad min ad-dam, which means that guard your hand from hurting people. The third one is hifzul ghalab min al-ham, which means that you guard your heart from all the worries that you have in this world. That itself constitutes the whole tasawwuf in essence. Okay, I think, do we have any time, Ustaz Idrus? 12:45. Oh, we still have 15 minutes. Okay, 10 minutes.
The last one is cut your heart from what, sorry?
Okay, first is the Arabic word is hifzul lisan minal dham. Okay, hifzul lisan, guarding your tongue from criticism, from criticizing others. The second one is hifzul yad minad dam, guard your hands from hurting people, from bloodshed. Dams mean bloodshedding. Okay, the third one is what? Guard your heart from ham. Ham means worries. Okay, that is the essence of the tariqat al-Ba'alwi. Okay, it's very okay. If I were to explain the everything, it will take so much time. Okay, I was explaining to my class yesterday about the concept of heart and where the concept of heart. And interestingly, Imam Al-Ghazali have one chapter in his book of Ihya. He devoted one chapter of his book with regards to delineation and elucidations of the concept of heart in his book Marvel of the Heart. And then he also have this concept of nafas, the self. And in his book later on, right after the Marvel of the Heart, Kasrul Shahwatan, Kitab fi Kasrul Shahwatan, a book with explaining how to breaking the two desire. And then that itself is the essence when they talk about Hifzul Ghalab Minal Ham. And you know that some of the book have mentioned that the disease of the heart, if we were to enumerate that, if we want to count the number of diseases of the heart, it will reach more than 40 diseases of the heart. Okay, one of the scholars that Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik alayhi, is that enumerate that is Imam Al-Juzail Al-Jahli in his book The Refinement of Character. He actually enumerates some of them. I think he reaches around 35, if I'm not mistaken, 35 diseases of the heart. Okay, and then that if you want to talk about the concept of heart, and then with regards to guarding your hand from blood shedding, this is the profound concept in the Al-Ba'alwi Tariqah, is that they have this idea of manhajus salama, the way of salama, the way of the safest route. What does it mean? It means that during the time of tribulations, these three things that I mentioned should be practiced and should be embraced and should be articulate in our actions. And Habib Abu Bakr Al-Adni, okay, he mentions about a lot of his book the concept of la ifrat wa la tafrid. That means you don't do the too extreme of certain things. And when he mentioned about the too extreme is the concept when I mentions about the too extreme of the Shia people and the Khawarij people. Who are the Shia and who are the Khawarij? Can anybody tell me who are those people? Okay, the Shia are those people who claim to have profound love towards the Prophet descendants, the Ahlul Bayt. Okay, Hassan, particularly Hassan and Hussein. Okay, those are the people. They have that kind of like excess love, until to the extent that this love leads to disintegrate a certain tenets or certain belief or convictions within the traditions. What they say, that one of the profound thing they say they have in principle is that because of that asabiyah, because of that excess love, they have this concept of what they call as taqiyya. And I don't want to mention about that, but I want to remind you all about the khilafah. You know that after the passing of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the khilafah, the rightful khilafah is Sayyidina Abu Bakar, and then Sayyidina Umar, and then Sayyidina Uthman, and then Sayyidina Ali karamallahu wajhahu. You know that in Shia traditions, particularly the majority of the Shia principles, that they believe that these three rightful Khalifa is not the rightful Khalifa. They snatched away the power from Sayyidina Ali karamallahu wajhahu. Why they say that? Why these people believe that? Because of that excess love. It stems from that love. That's why when you don't situate that love in accordance to the Sharia, this is where you go stray. You go away from the correct path. Correct. That is of the love, what they call as ifrat, which means the excessive love that the Shia people possess. And interestingly, with regard to this, what is the positions of the you know that Tariqat al-Ba'alwi is established by the descendant of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what are the position? Imam Abi Abdullah bin Alwi al-Haddad in his book Tasbitul Fuad, he mentioned that we, in our belief of the Tariqah al-Ba'alwi, we believe that the rightful Khalifa after Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam belongs to who? Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, followed by Sayyidina Umar, followed by then Sayyidina Uthman, and then Sayyidina Ali. And interestingly, that Imam Abdullah bin Alwi al-Haddad mentioned in his book the similarities between Sayyidina Abu Bakr and Sayyidina Uthman. He said that there are similarities because they have that kind of like calmness in them. They are very so-called calm in nature. Correct? They possess this concept of Hilim. Okay? And then he said that and Sayyidina Umar and Sayyidina Ali have similarities. It's really interesting that Sayyidina Umar, the Habaib, which does not affiliate themselves to the Shia traditions, say that Sayyidina, in particular Habib Abdullah bin Alwi Haddad, he equates Sayyidina Ali with Sayyidina Umar. It's really interesting. Where the Shia say that Sayyidina Umar, they say so much about Sayyidina Umar, and there's a book written criticizing Sayyidina Umar. And then Habib Abdullah bin Al-Haddad says about this, with regard to this, he said that he equate even Sayyidina, there are certain similarities with regards to Sayyidina Umar and Sayyidina Ali, is that he said that both of them, fihima shiddah, they have that kind of like shiddah, and shiddah means that they don't, they are very strict in that, stringent in that sense. And then he also said that they both also possess shaja'ah, the courage in them, in which they don't scared in the way of Allah lawma tala'im. They don't scared anybody. If they want to do something, they don't scared. They are not afraid to do that. La yakhafu billahi lawma tala'im. They are not afraid to uplift or to glorify the slogan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are not afraid. So that itself tells us we are against the tradition itself is against the excessive love of the Shia people, as well as the karahiyatul al-rawafid wal hawarij. The people of Hawarij believe that the Ahlul Bayt is just over venerating themselves, in the sense that they try to assimilate and imbue that the kind of like kinship in the traditions. That means to say that they have this kind of like karahiyah. They have this kind of dislike towards the Ahlul Bayt. That's why I think I think we end. I think after we mentioned about the Khawarij, is that Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik alayhi, is that Habib Ali Zain al-Abidin, Habib Ali al-Jufri, he mentioned in one of the thing is that one of the indicator of Khawarij is that they dislike the Ahlul Bayt. They don't like. They even, some of them even kill them. Na'uz billahi min zalik. So before I end, what I want to remind you all is that the madrasa itself, the madrasa Ba'alawiyah, the institution of the Tariqat al-Ba'alawiyah, is the middle path itself. We don't go beyond until we hate somebody. No, we have that kind of excessive love until we blame or falsify everybody. We are of the middle path, namatul awsat, which means in every of our actions, in every of our convictions. And one of the and lastly, what I want to mention is that they also have this kind of thought that we did, as I mentioned earlier in the beginning of the sessions, that we were taught from this namasul awsat, from the middle path, is that we don't criticize others, we don't label people, because I remember that time I mentioned about no differentiations, correct? Nabi SAW, when he promote Islam, when he propagate Islam, he moved these differentiations. La fadla li Arabiyin. Why is that so? It's been mentioned in the kitab that when there isn't any differentiation, it means you from Australia, for instance, you are from Nusantara, there isn't any differentiation. You are one. As a Muslim, we are one united family. And that lead to the success of the Khilafah of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And one of the interesting thing with regard to that, then when you have no differentiations among you all, you don't have that, you remove from yourself that ethnicity, your tribalisms and all that kind of like remnants of Jahiliyah. This is remnant of Jahiliyah. You so much affiliated to your ethnicity, you are so much affiliated to your tribes, is that you criticize other tribes. This is remnant of Jahiliyah. The Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam remove this, and don't revive this. And when you don't have this kind of like differentiations, enti tajalla bi sifatir rahman, which is al-ahadiyah. What does it mean? When Muslim possess that, there's no differentiation, that unity in them, the unity in them is actually they are ascribing toward themselves that attributes of Allah, which the oneness, the uniqueness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When tahallaita bi sifatir rahman, in hallat ankal mashakil. When you ascribe yourself with the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you don't have any problem. That's why the Sahaba don't have any problem making friend with other people, because this is the idea, the sole idea of what? Equality, when you believe in the divine oneness. That each of us is equal to one another. We remove the remnants of, or the precipitates of the Jahiliyah, which so much affiliated to tribalisms, to ethnicity, to I'm white, I'm black, I'm Nusantara, I'm Australian, I'm Western, I'm Eastern. No. Islam is aware about this. Islam is against this. We as a Muslim is one society. And when you ascribe yourself with oneness, with unity, you ascribe with the sifat ar-Rahman, the attributes of Rahman, tajalla fika ar-Rahmat. We will fall upon you and bestow upon you the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With this, I end the sessions. I seek apology for being long-winded and for not explaining some of the important parts of the tariqah. I hope that we can have more sessions like this so we can share. One of the things that I don't like to have is that when I say something, then you all listen. I want to have that kind of interactive sessions. You may have some thoughts in what I say that can benefit me and others. And one of the things that I learned from the Habaib traditions is that if you look at one of the videos of the Habaib, when the Habaib say something, and then all the other Ish qal Imam Haddad fihi, which means that what Imam Haddad say in this book, and then one Habaib will say one thing, and then the speaker will feel calm and delighted with the involvement of the participant. It's not that I give you knowledge and then you take it from me. No, but it's a sharing session. It's a kind of like interaction between you and me. That is the kind of like knowledge that you were imparted to us. So I apologize for being long-winded, and we ends with the